भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवे देवे दायिताय कृपाब्दे कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञानदायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुरोज्ज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिद श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविरुद्ध अपसिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दरामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्दिष्टसज्जनप्रिय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरवत्से नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते जयतां सुरतो पङ्गोर्ममन्दमतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपादाम्भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठादिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटतरस्थित कर्षन्वेनो स्वनैर्गोपैर्गोपीनाथः श्रीयत्सुनः तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we'll be starting today with Bhagavad Gita first chapter. Yeah. So before we start, we'll just see the setting the scene. So is the screen visible? Hare Krishna.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes,
Vedabase
Prabhu. Screen is visible.
Vedabase is
Yes,
visible?
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Vedabase is also visible.
So somebody can read this setting the scene.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Prabhu. Please accept my most humble obeisances unto your lotus feet. May I, Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
Although widely published and read by itself, Bhagavad Gita originally appears as an episode in the Mahabharata, the epic Sanskrit history of the ancient world. The Mahabharata tells of events leading up to the present age of Kali. It was at the beginning of this age, some 50 centuries ago, that Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to his friend and devotee Arjun. Their discourse, one of the greatest philosophical and religious dialogue known to man, took place just before the onset of war. A great fratricidal conflict between the hundred sons of Dhritarashtra and on the opposing side their cousins, the Pandavas, or sons of Pandu. Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers born in a Kuru dynasty, descending from King Bharata, a former ruler of the earth, from whom the name Mahabharat derives. Because Dhritarashtra, the elder brother, was born blind, the throne that otherwise would have been his was passed down to the younger brother Pandu. When Pandu died at an early age, his 5 children, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Nakula, and Sahadev, came under the care of Dhritarashtra, who in effect became for the time being the king. Thus, the son of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu grew up in the same royal household. Both were trained in a military arts by the expert Drona and counseled by Reverend grandfather of the clan Bhishma. Yet the son of Dhritarashtra, especially the eldest, Duryodhana, hated and envied the Pandavas, and the blind and weak-minded Dhritarashtra wanted his own sons, not those of Pandu, to inherit the kingdom. Thus Duryodhana, with Dhritarashtra consent, plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu, and it was only the careful protection of their uncle Vidura and their cousin Lord Krishna that the Pandavas escaped the many attempts against their lives. Now, Lord Krishna was not an ordinary man, but the supreme Godhead himself, who had descended to earth and was playing the role of a prince in a contemporary dynasty. In this role, he was also the nephew of Pandu's wife Kunti, or Pritha, the mother of the Pandavas. So both as a relative and as the eternal upholder of religion, Krishna favored the righteous son of Pandu and protected them. Ultimately, however, the clever Duryodhana challenged the Pandavas to a gambling match. In the course of that fateful tournament, Duryodhana and his brothers took possession of Draupadi, the chaste and the devoted wife of the Pandavas, and insultingly tried to strip her naked before the entire assembly of princes and kings. Krishna's divine intervention saved her, but the gambling which was reached cheated and the Pandavas of their kingdom and forced them into 13 years of exile. Upon returning from exile, Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas rightfully requested their kingdom from Duryodhana, who bluntly refused to yield it. Duty bound as prince to serve in public administration, the 5 Pandavas reduced their request to a mere 5 village. But Duryodhana arrogantly replied that he would not spare them enough land into which it drive a pin. Throughout all this, the Pandavas had been consistently tolerant and forbearing, but now war seemed inevitable. Nonetheless, as the princes of the world divided, some siding with the son of Dhritarashtra, others with the Pandavas, Krishna himself took the role of messenger for the sons of Pandu and went to the court of Dhritarashtra to plead for peace. When his pleas were refused, war was now certain. The Pandavas, men of the highest moral stature, recognized Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead, whereas the impious son of Dhritarashtra did not. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonist. As God, he would not personally fight, but whoever so desired might avail himself of Krishna's army. And the other side could have Krishna himself as an advisor and helper. Duryodhana, the political genius, snatched at Krishna's armed force, while the Pandavas were equally eager to have Krishna himself. In this way, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, taking it upon himself to drive a fabled bowman's chariot. This brings us to the point at which Bhagavad Gita begins with the 2 armies arrayed, ready for combat, and Dhritarashtra anxious, inquiring of his secretary Sanjay, what did they do? The scene is set. The scene is set with only the need for a brief note regarding this translation and commentary. The general pattern translators have followed in rendering Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own conceptions and philosophies. The history of Mahabharata is taken as quainted mythology, and Krishna becomes a poetic device for presenting the ideas of some anonymous genius, or at best he becomes a minor historical personage. But the person Krishna is both the goal and the substance of Bhagavad Gita, so far as the Gita speaks of itself. This translation, then, and the commentary that accompanies it proposes to direct the reader to Krishna rather than away from him. The Bhagavad Gita thus becomes wholly consistent and comprehensible, since Krishna is the speaker of the Gita and is ultimate goal as well. Bhagavad Gita as it is thus presents this great scripture in its true terms.
Yeah. So the scene is set now for the speaking of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll move on to text 1.1. Yeah. So just before we start, we'll just recite these slokas from Gita Mahatmya. I will I'll basically recite the sloka and repeat behind me. Gita ध्यानशीलस्य प्राणायाम परस्य च नैव शान्तिः पापानि पूर्वजन्म कृतानि च मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसाम् जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीतामृतस्नानं संसारमलनाशनम् गीतासु गीतकर्तव्या किं मन्ये शास्त्रविस्तरे या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिश्रिता भारतामृतसर्वस्वं विष्णुवक्त्राद्विनिश्रितम् गीतागङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दन पातो वत्स सुधीर्भुक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा Yeah, so we'll pray to the entire disciplic section, which starts from Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva, Padmanabha, Narari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhvendra Puri, Ishvara Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, Shri Rupa, Sanatana, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Raghunath, Jiva, Krishnadas, Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, बलदेव विद्याभूषण, जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज, श्री भक्तिविनोद ठाकुर, गौर किशोर दास बाबूजी महाराज, श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर, and Srila Prabhupada, and our spiritual masters, that we are starting or we are continuing with the study of Bhagavad Gita. We are starting today with first chapter. So we pray that we nicely understand the Bhagavad Gita from the purports of Srila Prabhupada, so that we can apply it in our life, and which will help us advance in Krishna consciousness, and which will bestow upon us pure devotional service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So, just before we start this, please note that we'll not again and again get to study Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees. So therefore, as we are studying, please go through the purports after this class ends, go through the purports of Srila Prabhupada and try to understand and apply it, understand it so that we can properly apply it in our life. Because again and again, we are not going to get an opportunity to read the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, when we are getting this opportunity on Saturday, Sunday, rest of the week is there. So you can hear other devotees' lectures, Prabhupada's lectures also there on Bhagavad Gita, and try to nicely study so that we can apply this very nicely in our life, right? So first chapter is observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. As the opposing armies stand poised for battle, Arjuna, the mighty warrior, sees his intimate relatives, teachers, and friends in both armies ready to fight and sacrifice their lives. Overcome by grief and pity, Arjuna fails in strength, his mind becomes bewildered, and he gives up his determination to fight. Right? So we'll start today with text 1, the verse number 1. So you can repeat behind me. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे
Samaveta
Samaveta
Mamaka Pandavaschaiva
मामका पाण्डवश्चैव
Kim Akurvata Sanjaya.
किम् अकुर्वत
Sanjaya.
Yes. So the Bhagavad Gita starts with Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. As we had seen earlier, I think I had explained in the introduction that this Bhagavad Gita or the battle of Kurukshetra was happening in Kurukshetra, and Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya are sitting in Hastinapur. So since Sanjaya was blind and since he could not participate in the battle of Kurukshetra, so on his request, Vyasdev had given a transcendental vision to Sanjaya. Prabhupada was explaining that it's like a TV. We are sitting at one place and we can see the events that are happening in the other part of the country, in USA, England, or somewhere else, right? So similarly, this type of TV vision was given to Sanjaya so that Sanjaya could just close his eyes and within his heart he could see what is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So that is what Sanjay is narrating to Dhritarashtra, and that is what is this discussion that we will be seeing now, right? So Dhritarashtra is asking a question, this Bhagavad Gita begins with Dhritarashtra's question. So what is Dhritarashtra asking to Sanjaya? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So since this battle is happening in a holy place, so what is the name of the holy place that is happening? Kurukshetre, Dharma kshetre, right? That is in this place of pilgrimage, and the name of the place is Kurukshetra. So after Samaveta Yutsava, so the sons of Pandava and my sons have assembled. Samaveta, Mamaka, Pandava, Shaiva, my sons, Mamaka, Pandavas, that is the sons of Pandavas, or the sons of Pandu, they have assembled Samaveta for what? Yutsavaha. Yutsava means desiring to fight. So after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre with a desire to fight, Kim Makurvata Sanjaya, what did they do? Right? So this is what is Dhritarashtra's question. Now, this question is, I'll just read the translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Now, this question is actually seems illogical because already they are assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra to fight. Then why Dhritarashtra is asking this particular question, right? So that is a very important question to understand, that why Dhritarashtra is asking this particular question, right? So I'll just open these slides. Yes. Yeah, so chapter 1.1 to 11 we'll discuss. So Dhritarashtra inquires, this we have already seen, that after my sons and sons of Pandu are assembled, what did they do? Right? So now, so why Dhritarashtra is asking this question is because he was doubtful and fearful, right? So what was he doubtful? That because this is a place of pilgrimage, Kurukshetra was known to a place of pilgrimage from Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga. So it was a place of pilgrimage not only in this age of Dwapar where this battle was going on, it was known as a place of pilgrimage even in the Vedas. So therefore, Dhritarashtra was doubtful that this place, which is the place of pilgrimage or the place of dharma, what influence it will have on his sons, right? Because they wanted to fight, but because this was a dharma kshetra, so therefore he was fearful that because of the influence of the place of pilgrimage, generally whenever we go to a place of pilgrimage, generally what happens, our heart softens, right? And heart softens, and generally people want to do pious activities, right? So therefore he was fearful that the place of pilgrimage will have a positive influence on his sons, and his sons may tell to the Pandavas that anyway this kingdom belongs to you, right? We had usurped this kingdom. You are actually the rightful inheritor. Yudhishthira Maharaj is supposed to become the king. So we usurped it from this kingdom from you. So because you are the rightful inheritors, therefore you please take this kingdom back. There is no need to fight. So therefore Dhritarashtra was fearful of the influence of the place of pilgrimage, right? So that is one thing. And he was also doubtful that because he knew, even though he was blind, he was spiritually also blind, but he knew everything what is going on. He knew that they were on the side of adharma and Pandavas were on the side of dharma. So because this was a dharma kshetra, and because Krishna, who is the father of religion, father of dharma, was on the side of Pandavas, so he was doubtful of the victory of Duryodhana and his party, or he was doubtful of the victory of Kurus, right? So therefore, he is asking this question because he was doubtful of the victory of the Kurus and he was fearful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage. Therefore, he is asking this question. And also, he was hopeful that because this is the pilgrimage, place of pilgrimage, because this is Dharma Kshetra, so it will have an influence on the Pandavas also, and the Pandavas may think that what is the need of fight at all, because as Arjuna will also be asking questions in the further shlokas. So Dhritarashtra was hopeful that the Pandavas may give up the claim for the kingdom and may tell that what is the need of the war? You only please take this kingdom back. We don't want the kingdom, and they may go to the forest, taking vanaprastha or sannyas. They may go to the forest. So therefore, he was hopeful that this place of pilgrimage may have such an influence. Therefore, because of these two three things, therefore Dhritarashtra asked this question to Sanjaya, right? So this was regarding the question. We'll just uh, see the purport, what Prabhupada is discussing in the purport. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that this Bhagavad Gita is the perfect theistic science. Bhagavad Gita is a perfect theistic science because why it is a perfect theistic science? Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself personally has spoken it. There are very few things which Krishna has spoken. One is somebody can tell me what are the things that Krishna has personally spoken. Some scriptures that Krishna has personally spoken. Krishna in his self same manifestation has spoken some scriptures. Can you tell me which scriptures Krishna has spoken? Yes, Abhishek too.
Prabhuji, Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
So Bhagavad Gita. Even Bhagavatam, I don't have particular clarity in Bhagavatam, Prabhuji. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Arjuna only. Like that's why it is called Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji, which came from Lord.
Bhagavatam entirely Krishna has not spoken. So I want to know specifically what Krishna has spoken. One thing is Bhagavad Gita. Anybody else?
Prabhuji, Sikshastakam.
Sri Krishna. I'm not telling about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna in his manifestation is Krishna.
Prabhuji, Uddhava Gita.
Yeah. So these two things are spoken by Krishna himself. That is Bhagavad Gita and Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita basically comes in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Krishna is specifically speaking how to perfect the human form of life and many other things in the Uddhava Gita. Basically, Uddhava Gita is a expansion of the Bhagavad Gita that was spoken to Arjuna. So Krishna has spoken Gita twice. One was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to Arjuna, and second he spoke the same topic but in an expanded version to Uddhava while Krishna was about to leave this world. Right? So these two things Krishna has personally spoken, and Uddhava Gita is more elaborate than Bhagavad Gita. So, because this Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna himself, and there are very few things that Krishna has personally spoken, therefore, this is the perfect theistic science, right? And how we are supposed to study the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada tells, Prabhupada quotes Gita Mahatmya. We should scrutinizingly study the Bhagavad Gita with the help of devotees of Sri Krishna, without any personally motivated interpretations, and in the line of disciplic succession. Now, the Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada has given has the sloka, the word-to-word meaning, the translation, and the purport. This purport is written by the pure devotee of Sri Krishna, Srila Prabhupada himself. Therefore, if we understand the purport very nicely and we apply in our life, that will be the perfection of our life, right? So, how to study the Bhagavad Gita? Scrutinizingly with the help of devotees of Sri Krishna, without personally motivated interpretations, and in the line of disciplic succession. Yeah. So, understanding and benefit of the Gita. So, Prabhupada explains further that there is an example of clear understanding of Bhagavad Gita. It is given in the Gita itself in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from Lord. So, how did Arjuna understand it? He understood it in the mood of Bhakto Sime Sakaseti, right? So, as a devotee and as a friend. That's how, in the introduction also we saw that if we want to understand the Gita, we have to understand it with a submissive spirit, right? As Arjuna understood it as a friend and as a devotee. That is how we can actually understand Gita in a submissive spirit. Otherwise, it is very difficult to understand the Gita. And what will happen? What are the benefits if we study the Gita in this particular mood? Then we will surpass all studies of Vedic wisdom and all the scriptures of the world, right? So, because Gita is the essence of all Vedas, Gita is the essence of all the scriptures of the world. Therefore, if we study it, understand it, then we will surpass all the studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. Yes, the specific standard of Bhagavad Gita, it contains all that is contained in the other scriptures, but also that which is not to be found elsewhere, right? It contains everything that is there in other scriptures, but also because Krishna himself has spoken, it also contains that which is not to be found elsewhere. Yes, so here one important point which I missed, that Dhritarashtra, if you can see in the sloka, what it is telling, what is Dhritarashtra asking? Mamaka Pandavas Shaiva. Now, if you see, actually, both the Pandavas and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, both are actually of the Kuru dynasty, right? But because Dhritarashtra has made this distinction, Mamaka Pandavas, therefore, there is a distinction, there is a differentiation which is made. Pandavas, 5 Pandavas and 100 Kurus. Although all the 105 sons are actually Kurus, but because Dhritarashtra is making a differentiation here, so there are 5 Pandavas who are the sons of Pandu, and Dhritarashtra is telling that Mamaka, these are my 100 sons, and they are not my sons, they are the sons of Pandu. So we can understand Dhritarashtra's mind here, how much jealous or how much envious he was of the Pandavas. On the other side, if we can see Kunti Maharani, if you see, so Kunti Maharani, Pandu had 2 wives. One is Kunti and one was Madri. So Kunti had 3 sons. That is Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhima, and Arjuna. And Madri had 2 sons. They were Nakul and Sahadev, right? So, but we never see in any of the scriptures Kunti Maharani's prayers in the 8th chapter of the first canto, or in the entire Mahabharata, we never see that Kunti made any distinction. We always hear that there are 5 Pandavas. We never hear that there are 3 Kaunteyas and 2 sons of Madri. We never hear like this. We always hear that there are 5 Pandavas. Why? Because Kunti never made that distinction. Because Kunti was a pure devotee of Krishna and she loved all the 5 sons equally, therefore we never see that distinction. But we can see that due to the jealous heart or the envious heart of Dhritarashtra, that he has made this distinction, that These are my 100 sons, and they are the sons of Pandu. Why? Because Dhritarashtra was the elder son, right? Eldest son. And Dhritarashtra always wanted to become the king. But because he was blind from birth, therefore the kingdom was given to Pandu. But Dhritarashtra never accepted that. Dhritarashtra always wanted to become the king. And when Pandu eventually left the body, then Dhritarashtra thought that this is the right time that I can become the king. If I cannot become the king, at least my son Duryodhana, right? He should become the king. Therefore, Dhritarashtra, even though knew everything, he knew that Duryodhana was on the adharma side, but still he always protected him and always supported him. And that is what led to the downfall of Dhritarashtra and his 100 sons, right? So Dhritarashtra refers to only his sons as Kurus, which shows his specific position in relation to his nephews, the Pandavas. Yeah, we saw this. We also saw this. Yes. So Dhritarashtra hopes that by asking this question, Dhritarashtra hopes that even though he is doubtful of the victory because of the influence of place of pilgrimage, he is doubtful that his sons may eventually lose the war, but he is hopeful that he has a hope that his sons may win the battle of Kurukshetra. But the Prabhupada is giving this analogy, that is a paddy field, Kshetra. Unnecessary weeds are taken out. Similarly, in the religious field of Kurukshetra, in the presence of the father of religion, Sri Krishna, unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhana and others would be wiped out. Even though Dhritarashtra is hopeful, but because the father of Dharma, father of religion, is standing there on the side of Pandavas, right, as a charioteer of Arjuna, guiding Arjuna. So eventually, Krishna will be guiding Arjuna to victory, right? So therefore, by the analogy of the paddy field, Prabhupada is explaining that even though Dhritarashtra is hopeful of the victory of the Kauravas or victory of his sons, but Krishna will not allow his devotees to be defeated, right? So eventually, Krishna, we will see in this chapters of Bhagavad Gita how Krishna will eventually lead the Pandavas to victory, right? So this was the first verse, right? So we'll move on to the next verse. Yes. Text 2. Sanjaya Uvacha. Yeah, no need to repeat because it will take time. I'll just read the verse. You can just see it. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtatu Pandavanikam Yudam Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. So now, after hearing Dhritarashtra's question, Sanjaya is replying the entire chapter now, that from text 2 to the end of this chapter is basically a reply to Dhritarashtra's question, that Dhritarashtra is asking, what did the Pandavas and the Kauravas do on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? So Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavani Kam, right? So Drishtva, now he is describing about Duryodhana Stada, right? I think I have not shared the screen. Yes. So the shloka is Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudam Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. So now here Sanjaya is describing what Duryodhana is doing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So Drishtva means seeing. So Drishta means after Duryodhana saw Pandavanikam, the soldiers of the Pandavas, Pandavanikam, Yudam means how the Pandavas and their ministers, how they have arranged their soldiers. What did Duryodhana do? Duryodhana approached Dronacharya, Acharyam, Upasangamya. So Upasangamya means he approached Dronacharya and he spoke these words, Raja Vachanam Abravit, right? So Duryodhana spoke. Abravit means spoke. So spoke these words, right? So here now it is very, very important that the words that Sanjaya is asking. So now Sanjaya, one thing is by speaking this shloka, Sanjaya is giving a hope to Dhritarashtra that don't worry, please do not worry that neither your sons, neither the Pandavas will have gone there for making a compromise. They are going to fight, and in this direction, what Duryodhana is doing, Duryodhana seeing the armies arranged by the Pandavas, he is approaching Acharya, he is approaching Dronacharya, and he is going to speak certain words, right? So he is giving a hope to Dhritarashtra by speaking this verse that don't worry, they are not going to make a compromise, they are going to fight the war, right? So now here this word Raja is very important. So now if you see, Duryodhana was not at a Raja, Duryodhana was not at made the king, right? Now Dhritarashtra was sitting there on the throne, and ideally Yudhishthira Maharaj is supposed to become the king. But now what Sanjay is speaking is, Sanjay is telling Duryodhana as Raja, right? So it doesn't mean that he is the king, but it means that he is a very expert politician, right? He is a very expert politician because Raja also implies a politician. He's expert politician because now Duryodhana understood that he saw the armies of the Pandavas, which was expertly arranged by Drishtadyumna, son of Drupada, and actually it is said that Duryodhana became fearful. Right, Duryodhana became fearful, and now just to conceal that fear, just to hide that fear, he is approaching Dronacharya and he is going to speak these words. So this word Raja tells that Duryodhana is a expert politician. Right? Yeah, somebody can read the purport.
Prabhuji, can I Prabhuji?
Yes.
Who can read Prabhuji? Even little
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Please read. I told yes. Please kindly read, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjay could understand his motive in asking about the situation of the battlefield. Sanjay wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assured him that his son were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjay therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on the account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas.
So actually Duryodhana became fearful, but just to disguise it, he is approaching Dronacharya and he is going to speak these words to Dronacharya. So Duryodhana could understand the seriousness. There is a serious battle going to happen, and it is going to be a tough battle. Seeing the armies, he became fearful. So now he is approaching his commander-in-chief, that is Dronacharya. Right? So text 3. पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्य महतिं च मुं व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येन धीमता. So now what Duryodhana is doing is actually Duryodhana is warning Dronacharya by speaking these words, right? So what he is telling, Pashaitam, right? Pashaitam, he's telling to Dronacharya that just see, Pashaitam, behold, Panduputranam, right? Acharya Mahatim Chamum, right? So just see Chamum. Chamum means the military force or the army, right? The great army, Mahatim Chamum, the great army that is arranged by the sons of Pandu or the Pandavas, right? So he is telling Acharya, Dronacharya, that just see the great army that is arranged by the Panduputras or the sons of Pandavas. And who is their commander? Who is expertly arranging this armies? Vyudam, right? It is arranged. Vyudam means it is arranged by Drupada Putrena. Drupada Putrena means Drishtadumna, right? And he is not mentioning the name of Drishtadumna, but he is mentioning him as Drupada Putrena and Tava Shishyena Dhimata, right? He is your own disciple, he's very intelligent, and he's Drupada Putrena, right? So, as we already saw that he's a very expert politician, so he's inciting Dronacharya. He's inciting the anger of Dronacharya by telling Drupada Putrena and Tava Sishyena, because Duryodhana knew the background behind this. There is a background behind Duryodhana speaking these words. He wanted to incite the anger of Dronacharya, right? So, what is the history behind this? So, basically, Drupada, who is the father of Drishtadyumna, and Dronacharya were basically both friends, right? And Drupada was a Kshatriya and Dronacharya was a Brahmana, right? So, since Dronacharya was a Brahmana, so he was poor, right? And Drupada being a Kshatriya king, he was actually very wealthy. So now, since Dronacharya had a son Ashwatthama and did not have any money or did not have any resources to bring up his son, so therefore Dronacharya went to Drupada because they were both together in their Gurukul days. So Dronacharya understood that Drupada is my friend, so he'll surely help me. So just like Sudama went to Krishna and Krishna helped Sudama, so Dronacharya understood that Drupada is my friend, so he will surely help me, and he's a king also. So Dronacharya went to beg something from Drupada, asking that please help me. I am in a very poor condition. That please help me so that I can bring up my son Ashwatthama, only son. So, but Drupada, since he was very proud of his wealth, and Drupada refused to help Dronacharya, and he not only refused, he also insulted that what is your condition? There is no comparison between me and you. You tell that you are my friend, but actually there is no comparison between me. I am a king and you are a poor Brahmana. There is no comparison. So like this, what Drupada did is, Drupada, instead of helping Dronacharya, he actually insulted Dronacharya. And Dronacharya, being insulted, he had that anger in his heart. So what he did is, then he went to the Kauravas, right? Kuru dynasty, and he took the position of teachers of both the Pandavas, the 5 sons of Pandu, and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. He became their teacher. He eventually trained them, and then he had a very important disciple, or his chief disciple, that is Arjuna, and he trained Arjuna very nicely. And eventually, Dronacharya sent Arjuna to fight with Drupada, and Arjuna eventually defeated Drupada in the fight. And because of this, Drupada felt very insulted that how I got defeated by the hands of a disciple of Dronacharya. So therefore, Drupada, what he did is, he made a yajna, or he basically incited, he made his priests to basically do a yajna. And what would be the result of that yajna? The result of that yajna would be a son. Drupada would have a son who will be eventually killing Dronacharya. And the son's name was Drishtadumna. So the purpose of Drishtadumna's birth was that he will be eventually killing Dronacharya, right? So this Dronacharya knew, right, that Drishtadumna was born to kill him, right? But still, what Drupada did is, because Dronacharya was a very expert teacher, Drupada sent his son Drishtadumna to learn military arts from Dronacharya. So when Drishtadumna came to approach Dronacharya for learning the military arts, Dronacharya, being a Brahmana, he understood that I have to be equal. So he also thought, he knew that this person will eventually kill me. He will be the cause of my death. But still, he being a Brahmana, he taught this military arts to Drishtadumna, right? So this is the background behind what Duryodhana speaking these words. That is Drupada Putrena. Even though you knew that Drishtadumna would be the cause of your death, still Tava Sishyena Dhimata, still you taught him the military arts. Now, because of that wrong thing that you have done, or the mistake that you have done, now you see that this Drishtadumna, who is Drupada Putrena, he has arranged this great army of the Pandavas. So already you have committed one mistake, that of teaching the military arts to Drupada Putrena. Now your own favorite disciples, the Pandavas, are standing in front of you in this war. Now don't please make another mistake of being lenient towards your favorite disciples, because the Duryodhana knew that Pandavas are his favorite disciples, so he is warning. This verse is basically a warning that you already committed a mistake. Now don't commit another mistake by being lenient towards your own favorite disciples, the Pandavas. Right? Yes. Somebody can read the purport.
Hare
Abhishek,
Krishna
too?
Prabhu.
Yeah,
Hare
please.
Krishna Prabhu.
Please read.
Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drushtadimna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drushtadimna took the side of Pandavas, and it was he who arranged the further military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Dronacharya pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromised in the fighting. By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in the battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna, especially, was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Dronacharya also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat.
Yes. So Duryodhana is going to speak the further verses. They are speaking about the strength of his own armies. Or first, he is going to speak about the strength of the Pandavas' armies, and then he's going to speak also about the strength of his own army. Right. So text 4. Atra sura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayudi yudano viratascha drupadascha maharata. So what Duryodhana is saying, that Duryodhana is saying that in the army of the Pandavas, there are many soldiers who are on an equal strength with Bhima and Arjuna. Now he is giving example of Bhima and Arjuna because he himself personally knew, and the entire world knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna. So he's telling that Atra Sura Maheshwasa. So what he's telling is, if you see, there are Sura here in this army of the Pandavas, there are heroes, Sura, and Maheshasa means there are mighty bowmen, right? Who are in equal. There are heroes and there are mighty bowmen who are in equal Samayudhi, right? Who are equal in fight with Bhima and Arjuna. They are equal in strength with Bhima and Arjuna, right? And who are they? He is naming a few like Yudana, Virata, right? Drupada. So he is naming some of these great fighters like Yudana, Virata, and Drupada. So he is telling that this army, great army of the Pandavas has great bowmen, and great heroes who are an equal strength with Bhima and Arjuna, and he is naming a few, right? So here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada. So just read a small purport. Even though Drishtamna was not a very important obstacle on the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there are many others who were causes of fear, right? They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Right. So Duryodhana mentioned the names, or in the fourth verse, Duryodhana mentioned the great strength or the great army of the Pandavas. So he is mentioning further names in the fifth verse. Drashtaketuschekitana Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kuntibojascha Saibhyascha Narapungava. So he's naming further names. There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntiboja and Shaibhya. Right. So we'll just go to the slides. So we'll just see what is the common theme of text 1.2 to text 1.11, right? So you can see here, right, that actually these words actually describe who Duryodhana is. So Duryodhana's actions are described, they reveal his diplomacy and inner fear by the following indications, right? Duryodhana, although mentioned as king, goes to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation, so he's quite fit to be a politician. That is in text 1.2. And in text 1.3, because Duryodhana was a politician and he was a very, very nice diplomat. Yes, Naveen Gopal Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, is it possible if you can increase the size so that we can see little clearly, Prabhu?
Yeah. Yes, is this okay?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we saw how Duryodhana is a great politician and is a diplomat. Therefore, in text 1.3, Duryodhana is actually pointing out the mistakes of Dronacharya, and we already explained that, right? And so by pointing out that mistake, he's telling that now please don't make a compromise, otherwise we will lose the battle, right? So next in text 1.4, so all these things basically mention how Duryodhana is a great politician and a great diplomat. So in text 1.4, Duryodhana is mentioning 1.4 and 1.5, Duryodhana is mentioning the great strength of the army of the Pandavas. So Duryodhana is telling that even though we have a lot of Akshavani Sena of Krishna and we have a lot of kings with us, and we are 100 of them, there are 5 of them, and there is a lot of kings with us, but they are also not weak, right? They are also very strong, and they are very prominent also. They have a very great army. Therefore, we cannot be we cannot make a compromise. We cannot be what is that? We have to be very strong in this battle. So in text 1.9, further Duryodhana is explaining that there are others these are there like Jayadratha, Kritarvarma and Shalya who are on my side. He's in the text 1.9. Duryodhana is mentions the heroes who are ready to lay down their lives for me. That is for Duryodhana, right? And in text 1.11, so what he is doing is he's praising Bhishma. And in text one further in that text only, because Duryodhana knew that Bhishma and Karna were not on an equal, they were not friendly. So he's telling that even though Bhishma is very strong, he is also old. So therefore, he needs our support if we are to win this battle of Kurukshetra. Yes. So we already discussed this in 1.2 how Duryodhana himself is going to the commander in chief. Even though Duryodhana is the leader of this army, he is himself going personally to the commander, and how he is speaking to the commander in chief, that is Dronacharya. We already saw this. This is also discussed, right? So he is mentioning Bhima and Arjuna because he knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna. And why is mentioning other heroes? Because he knew they are very great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, and as each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. Right? So in text 1.9, he mentions these names, Jayadratha, Kritavarma, and Shalya, who are ready to lay down their lives. So we are not yet come here. Yes, we'll discuss it later when we come to this verses. Yes. So we have completed text 5. We'll continue with text 6, right? Yudamanyoscha Vikranta Uttamojascha Viryavan, Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharata. So he is further continuing to describe the strength of the army of the Pandavas, right? He is mentioning further names: Yudhamanas, Vikranta, right? Uttamaojas, Viryavan. He's telling Saubhadra, that is the sons of Subhadra, sons of Draupadi, right? So these are all Maharathas. There are mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamaoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. So in text 7, Asmakam tu Vishishtaye Tani Bodha Dvijuttama Nayaka Mama Shainyasya Samnyartam Tan Bravimite. Now, what Duryodhana is doing is, Duryodhana is mentioning that this was the army, this was the strength of the army of the Pandavas, but please don't be fearful or don't worry. But because I will mention the strength of the army of our own army, right? So, but for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. So in text 8 and 9, Duryodhana is going to mention the strength of his own armies, right? Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitim Jaya Ashwattama Vikarnascha Somadatista Taivacha. So he's mentioning Bhishma, Karna, Kripacharya, right? Ashwattama, Vikarna, Somadatti, right? Or the Somadatta. So there are personalities like you, Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle, right? So here one important point that this tells us how, what is that? Duryodhana was actually a diplomat or politician. What he's mentioning? Actually, Bhishma was much more stronger fighter, and Bhishma was much more senior to Dronacharya. But what he's mentioning, before Bhishma, he's mentioning Dronacharya's name to encourage Dronacharya, right? So this is how we can understand that he was actually a very expert politician. So somebody can read this purport.
Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Duryodhana mentions the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwadhama is the son of Dronacharya, and Somdatti or Bhurishrava is the son of the king of Bhaliksa. Karna is the half brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya's twin sister married Dronacharya.
Yeah, so Kripacharya's sister married Dronacharya, and by Dronacharya and Kripacharya's sister Kripi, their son was Ashwathama. Further, Duryodhana continues in text 9. Anye cha bahava shura madarte tekva jivita nana shastra praharana sarve yuddha visharada. So he's telling that there are further soldiers who are ready to lay down their lives for me. So here, so many acharyas comment that Duryodhana is actually mentioning in this verse itself that all these warriors who are on my side are eventually lay down their lives. That is, they are going to be killed by the sons of Pandavas or by Krishna's influence. So there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. So Duryodhana is actually foretelling the events that are going to happen in the Battle of Kurukshetra, that they are eventually going to lay down their lives for my sake, and they are going to be killed by the hands of the sons of Pandu and their armies. Yes, somebody can read the purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritvarma, and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above-mentioned combined strength of his friends.
Yes. Text 10. अपर्याप्तं तस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्व इदम् एतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्. Yes. So here if you can see, now Duryodhan what he is doing, he is basically mentioning very two important words. One for the army that is protected by Bhishma and another for the army that is protected by Bhima. Bhishma Bhirakshitam and Bhima Bhirakshitam. So Pandava's army, he's telling that is protected by the strength of Bhima, and our army, that is the army of the Kauravas, is protected by the powerful Bhishma, right? So what is telling? There are two words used here, aparyaptam and paryaptam. So what is telling is aparyaptam. Aparyaptam means immeasurable, right? So the army that is protected by the strength of Bhishma is immeasurable. It means you cannot measure the strength of our army, whereas Paryaptam, whereas the army that is protected by Bhima Virakshitam, that is the army that is protected by Bhima, is actually Paryaptam, means it is limited. The army, their strength is limited, whereas our strength is unlimited or it is immeasurable. So Acharyas comment that in a reverse direction, aparyaptam also can means that it is not sufficient. Aparyaptam can also means that it is not sufficient. So he is telling that even though this army is protected by the strength of Bhishma, but it is insufficient, right? And paryaptam, that is paryaptam also can mean that it is sufficient, right? It is sufficient to kill us or it is sufficient to defeat us. So Paryaptam, the army that is protected by the hands of Bhima is Paryaptam or it is sufficient to finish us or to sufficient to defeat us on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So translation, our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas carefully protected by the Bhima is limited, right? Purport, somebody can read purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I?
Yes, yes Mataji.
Herein an estimation of comparative strength is made by the Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by the less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Thank you.
Yes. So Sanjay is mentioning all this because Dhritarashtra asked a question. He has a doubt whether what they are doing. So now all this is explained by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra to basically give him assurance that don't worry, Duryodhana is confident of eventually winning the war, right? Yeah. So text 11, Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yata bhagam avastita bhishmam evabhirakṣantu bhavanta sarva evahi. So now what Duryodhana is telling is that Bhishma is a very great warrior, right? He is never defeated on the battle. So now if we support him, Bhishma, in this battle, so surely we are going to win the war. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. So he's telling that please support grandfather Bhishma. He is already old, but he is strong warrior. We need to support him so that eventually we'll win the war. Yeah, purport?
Duryodhana, after praising the powers of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized the Bhishma Dev and undoubtedly the great heroes. But he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight and the enemy might take advantage of full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic position and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depend on the presence of Bhishma Dev. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya in the battlefield because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that this general would now completely give it up, and as they had done during the gambling performance.
Yes, so Prabhupada is explaining that how Duryodhana is a very nice diplomat in his own diplomatic way. He first praised Bhishma, and in the next verse, he's asking for the support of all the warriors, telling that Bhishma is our main fighter, right, main warrior. So, but he's old, so we cannot leave him alone. So we should protect him from all the sides, so that eventually Bhishma and Drona will eventually lead us to the victory, right? Yes. So we already saw that text 11 or text 10, he has already praised Bhishma and he is asking for support in text 11. We already saw this. Yeah, this we have seen how Bhishma and Bhima were compared by Duryodhana. Yes. Now, this is something which is important. What made Duryodhana confident of victory? So, 1.7 to 1.9, he mentions many of the names, or he's mentioning the strength of his army. So that is one point which is making him confident of the victory. That is the strength of his friends. Also, the presence of Bhishma Dev. Who was a far superior general than Bhima. So he clearly felt that victory of the Kurus was dependent on the presence of Bhishma Dev. So this was in text 10 and text 11. So because he was, and also he was confident of the full support of Bhishma and Drona, because already during when Draupadi was being distraught, this Bhishma and Drona never spoke a single word. So therefore he was confident of the full support of Bhishma and Drona. So these were some of the signs, or these were some of the points which made Duryodhana confident of his victory over the Pandavas. So now in text 1.12 to 1.20, basically now Sanjaya basically told to Dhritarashtra that how Duryodhana very nicely spoke to Duryodhana, and also he is encouraging all the other warriors, and he is telling that these are the signs of our victory. But now what Sanjaya is doing is, Sanjaya tactfully informed Dhritarashtra about his hopeless plans to win by giving the following indications and signs. So Dhritarashtra is hopeful of his victory. So Sanjay initially gave him a hope that by telling what Duryodhana told, that yes, Kauravas could win. But now Sanjay is further telling that you are making a very you have a plan to win, but actually these are the signs by which the Pandavas are going to win, right? So we'll see this first, and then we'll go to the purport, right? So what are the signs of victory of the Pandavas? So these are mentioned in the following verses, right? So Krishna's personal presence confirms the victory, right? And because Krishna is there, wherever Krishna is there, there is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. The last sloka of Bhagavad Gita is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanodhara, Tatra Shri Vijayir Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So wherever Krishna is there is Tatra Shri, that is Lakshmi ji, Vijay, Tatra Shri Vijayir Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So wherever Krishna is there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Father of Religion is there. So Pandavas are going to win. And wherever Krishna is there, his wife, the goddess of fortune, Srimati Lakshmi Devi or Srimati Radharani are there. So that is also how the Pandavas are going to win. The venue, the Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, because this is a religious place, a place of Dharma. So because Pandavas are basically on the side of Dharma and Krishna is there, so therefore they are going to win. And on Arjuna's flag, there is Hanumanji, right? So just like Hanumanji spearheaded, right, Ramayana's victory, or spearheaded Lord Ram's victory over the Asuras, or Ram's victory over the Asuras in Sri Lanka. So similarly, Hanumanji is there on the flag of Arjuna. So this indicates that here also Hanumanji is going to lead Pandavas to the victory, right? So there is symbol of Vishnu also, and there is transcendental conscience, right? So we will see that how in the verses it is mentioned that the conscience of the Pandavas are praised, whereas the conscience of the Duryodhana side, basically it is not praised, right? So we'll see that, right? And also the chariot given to Arjuna was given by Agni Deva, which is also a victorious symbol. And when the conch shell of the Pandavas were blown, so it shattered the hearts of the Kauravas. So that also indicates that the Pandavas are going to win the war. So these were the 9 signs of victory of the Pandavas. Yes, so we'll see one by one now. Krishna's personal presence confirms the victory. So Supreme Personality of Godhead is a charioteer. Jayastu Panduputranam Esham, right? So in the 14th verse, this is mentioned that because Krishna is personally present as the charioteer of Arjuna, he is present on the side of the Pandavas, so they are surely going to win this battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna as Rishikesha directly controls the senses of a pure devotee, right? So Krishna is Rishikesha, so he is controlling the senses of pure devotee, controlling the senses of Arjuna. So he will surely guide Arjuna and his party, or the Pandavas, to the victory. Yes, whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there. So she never leaves without her husband, therefore all fortune is guaranteed. This is mentioned in text 14. Yeah. Yes, this is mentioned in verse 1.1. Kurukshetra is holy place. So this is also another sign of victory for the Pandavas. In text 1.20, Hanumanji also helped Lord Rama in gaining victory. Therefore, because he is present on Arjuna's flag, so this is also going to lead the Pandavas to the victory. So conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu. That is in 1.12 and 1.14. We'll see that. So, and this is indirectly indicated by Bhishma and the Pandavas' conch shells. So the blowing of the conch shells, which we'll see now in 1.12 and 1.14, how it is mentioned differently for the Pandavas and it is mentioned differently for the Kauravas. So that is also another symbol, sign of victory. So Krishna's and Arjuna's conch shells are mentioned as transcendental. Divya means the blowing of their conch shells indicates victory for the Pandavas. So Bhishma is blowing his conch shell, but there is no mention of transcendental word for either Bhishma Dev or the conch shells of Duryodhana's side, which indicates that they are eventually going to lose the battle. So Agni Dev in text 14, the chariot which was given to Arjun by Agni Dev is mentioned as capable of conquering all directions, and it is going to conquer the enemies of the Pandavas. So conch shells of the Pandavas shattered the Kauravas' heart. It is mentioned in 1.19. So Pandavas' hearts were not shattered when the conch shell, when Bhishma Dev blew the conch shell, or when the Kauravas blew the conch shell, because they were confident, they had full confidence in Krishna, they had full faith in Krishna, that Krishna is surely going to win us the battle of Kurukshetra. Yes, so here in 1.12, Bhishma is blowing his conch shell. What does it indicate to Duryodhana? Bhishma indicates the following things to Duryodhana by his conch shell. Blown out of natural compassion for grandson Duryodhana, to cheer the fearful. He knew that Duryodhana was fearful seeing the army of the Pandavas. So to cheer the fearful heart of Duryodhana, Bhishma blew this conch shell. And also it befitted his position as lion. That is Bhishma's position as lion. And also Bhishma Dev is blowing his conch shell because Duryodhana wants the support of Bhishma Dev and Duryodhana. So therefore, to assure his grandson that there will be no pains would be spared in this in his duty to fight. So Bhishma Dev is saying that please don't worry, I will not spare anything to win this battle. So therefore he is blowing this conch shell. So indirectly by the symbolism of conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson that he has no chance of victory because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. So Bhishma Dev is also indicating to Duryodhana that please understand that Krishna, who is the father of religion, Krishna, who is the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the husband of goddess of fortune, is on the other side, is on the Dharma side, is on the side of the Pandavas. So please note that you are not going to win this battle of Kurukshetra. Yes, the conch shells are blown. So how we'll see how the different descriptions that the conch shells on the side of the Pandavas and the conch shells on the side of the Kauravas. All Pandavas blew conch shells and all other instruments that made a tumultuous sound. So names of the different conch shells, this is very important. You can make a note of this. So the warrior names and the conch shells names are mentioned in these texts. That is, Krishna's conch shell name was Panchajanya. Arjuna's conch shell's name was Devadatta. Yudhishthira's conch shell's name was Ananta Vijaya. Bhima's conch shell's name was Poundra. Nakula's conch shell name was Sugosha. And Sahadev's conch shell name was Manipushpaka. Yes, we will see these purports. So by these verses, what is Sanjay tactfully conveying to Dhritarashtra is, Sanjay very tactfully informed King Dhritarashtra of the following points through all the above mentioned verses. His unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons was not very laudable, right? So by mentioning these conch shells and the signs of victory of the Pandavas, Sanjay is telling to Dhritarashtra that ideally Dhritarashtra should have, being the elder father of Pandavas, he should have understood that Yudhishthira Maharaj is supposed to be the king, and he should have supported them, and he should not have made a difference. Being the elder king, and Pandavas did not have a father, so he should not have made a differentiation between Pandavas and Kauravas, and he should have supported the Pandavas who were fatherless. But instead of doing that, instead of being compassionate on the Pandavas, what he did is he made, along with Duryodhana and Shakuni, he made various plans to kill the Pandavas and to dethrone them, and through various plans he wanted his sons to become the kings. So Sanjay is saying that all your plans is going to come to an end in this battle of Kurukshetra. So all the signs that we will be seeing in the purport, all the signs indicate that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed. From the grandsire Bhishma to the grandson Abhimanyu and all the other kings of states were doomed. And Dhritarashtra was the cause of the whole catastrophe because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. So ultimately Sanjay is convincing, or Sanjay is conveying to Dhritarashtra that all this, that Bhishma Dev is going to be killed, Abhimanyu is going to be killed, all your 100 sons is going to be killed. And who is the cause of all this? You yourself are the cause for all this catastrophe that is going to happen in the battle of Kurukshetra. So blowing of conch shells announced the message that the Kauravas were predestined to lose the battle. So in text 1.15, that is the purport 1.15, Rishikesha name is mentioned, who is the owner of all senses. The name of Rishikesha, the meaning of Rishikesha is the owner of all senses, or the director of the senses. So owner of all senses of living entities are part and parcels of his senses. So impersonalists cannot account for the sense of living entities, and they are always anxious to describe the living entities as senseless or impersonal. So Lord as Paramatma directs the senses according to the surrender of the living entity. So because Arjuna had fully surrendered, right? We will see in chapter 2 how Arjuna is going to surrender to Krishna and telling that now I am helpless and I am going to fully surrender to you. So you please guide me. So because Arjuna fully surrendered to Rishikesha or to Krishna, so now Krishna is going to take full control of Arjuna's senses and he is going to guide Arjuna to victory. So in text 1.15, there are various names. So Govinda is a pleasure giver to cows and senses, and Govinda is going to give pleasure to his pure devotees, right? Dhananjaya, Arjuna helped his elder brother to fetch wealth for different sacrifices, right? For the Rajasuya sacrifice, Arjuna helped Yudhishthira Maharaj to fetch wealth from different places, right? So therefore his name is Dhananjaya. And Vrikodara, eat as voraciously as he could do Herculean tasks. So Prabhupada in his lecture tells that because Bhima is called as Vrikodara, right? So he could eat a lot of food because he also did a lot of Herculean tasks. So when can we eat a lot of food? When we can do a lot of services. Prabhupada tells that you can eat unlimitedly if you can do unlimited services. Yes. So this completes. So we'll continue back to the purport. So text 12 to text 18 describes the signs of victory of the Pandavas, right? So text 12, tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simmanadam vinagyochai shankam dadmo pratapavan. So translation, then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Yes, somebody can read the purport.
The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection.
Yes. So even though Bhishma Dev was a pure devotee of Krishna, so he knew that Krishna is on the other side of the Kauravas, so they are going to win. But still, since he was a warrior and he had adapted to the Kauravas side, so therefore he being Kshatriya had to fight. So he wanted to fulfill his duty, even though he knew very well that the side of the Pandavas are going to win, right? So text 13, Tata Shankascha Beryascha Panavanaka Gomuka Sahasaiva Hanyanta Shashabdastumulo Bhavat. So here in text 13, the different instruments that were used to make loud sound before the battle of Kurukshetra began are being mentioned by Sanjaya. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. So these verses are being mentioned by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, wherein signs of victory of the Pandavas are being mentioned, right? So text 14, Tata sveter hayar yukte mahati shandane stito madava pandavaschaiva divyau shankau pradadmatu. So you can see that Divyau Shankau, this word is being used here. That is the conch shell that, or the sound that came from the conch shells of Madhava and Pandava were actually Divyau, transcendental, which means that they are going to win this battle of Kurukshetra. Translation, on the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded the transcendental conch shells. Right? Yes, please read the purport.
In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishmadeva, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Panduputranam Esham Pakshe Janardana. Victory is always with the persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and whatever the Lord is present, wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shells of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds.
Yes. So, what are the signs of victory mentioned here? One is that the conch shell is transcendental, mentioned as transcendental. This is the first. Second is that because Krishna is presently present and he is the husband of the goddess of fortune, the goddess of fortune is also present. So, therefore, this is another sign of victory. And third is the throne or this particular chariot was basically given by the fire god Agni to Arjuna. And what is the symptom of this, or what is the what does this chariot indicate? That wherever it is drawn over the three worlds, it can conquer all the sides. So therefore, these are the some of the signs of victory that is mentioned in verse number 14. Text 15 now mentions the different consuls, names of the different consuls that are used by the Pandavas. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Poundram Dhadno Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. Yeah, somebody can read the translation and purport.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please.
Lord Krishna is okay. Translation: Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his the Devadatta, and Bhima, the ferocious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. Purport: Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of all the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudan because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as ferociously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by the king by the different personalities on the side of Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells.
Yes. So here you can see that Prabhupada is mentioning one important point, that Krishna is Rishikesha, means he is the owner of all the senses of all living entities. But Krishna controls the senses to the degree we surrender into him, right? So here, so Prabhupada is mentioning here, if you can see that but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of pure devotee, directly controls the senses, right? So therefore, how Krishna directs our senses or how Krishna directs our mind, it all depends on how we surrender. So the more we surrender to Krishna, the more Krishna will properly direct us in a proper direction, right? In our devotional service, right? Krishna is telling, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirgyanam apohanam cha. Krishna is telling in the Bhagavad Gita that I am sitting in everyone's heart and matta smritirgyanam apohanam cha. And I give the remembrance and knowledge by which they can come to me. And Krishna is the cause of forgetfulness also, and Krishna is the cause of remembrance also. So sometimes while we are performing devotional service, if we are not surrendered, then Krishna may make us forgetful of our situation, by which we may either fall down or we may not progress in devotional service. Therefore, it is very important that we perform these activities of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the nine activities of devotional service, and we are obedient to our Guru's instructions, so that Krishna is sitting in the heart as Paramatma. Krishna is himself sitting. So there is no need for us to worry whether I will progress in devotional service. If we are actually following Guru's instructions, Krishna will surely guide us. Krishna will surely guide us to victory, right? So therefore, it is very important that we follow the Guru's instructions. We follow the vows that we are given to a Guru, and we also participate very enthusiastically in the 9 process of devotional service, that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Right? So when we do these very enthusiastically, Utsahat Nishya Dhera, that we are studying in Updeshamrita, then Krishna will surely guide us to victory in our life. Right? Therefore, it is very important that we perform these activities very nicely. Right? And also, Prabhupada mentions that Krishna is known by different names. And what are those names? Those names are in connection with his devotees. Like here it is, Prabhupada mentions Govinda, Vasudeva, Devakinandana, Yashodanandana, right? Parthasarthi, Rishikesha, right? So these are all different names. Krishna likes to be called in connection with his devotees, right? If you tell Krishna is Paramatma, Jagadishvara, and all these names, Krishna may not be very happy. But when you tell Krishna, when you call Krishna as Devakinandana, Yashodanandana, Vasudeva, right? Parthasarthi, Rishikesha, Radhanatha, Radha Govinda, right? Then what happens? Krishna becomes very pleased, because Krishna always wants to be in the association of devotees. Therefore, Prabhupada condemned whenever he saw only Krishna standing alone, right? Because Krishna is never alone. Krishna is either with cows, Krishna is with Arjuna, Krishna is with gopis, right? Krishna is with Gopas, Krishna is with Yashoda and Ananda. Therefore, since Krishna is never alone and Krishna never likes to be alone, right? Therefore, Krishna is pleased when he is with his devotees. Therefore, we always worship Krishna either as Parthasarthi or Yashodanandan or Devakinandan or Radhanatha, Radha Govindadev. We always worship Krishna in relation to his devotees. We never worship Krishna alone, right? And there are different names of Arjuna and Bhima mentioned here: Dhananjaya, Vrikodara, right? With respect to their activities that they perform, right? So text 16 to 18, we further see the names of the consuls of Yudhishthira Maharaj and so on. Nakula Sahadev. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthirah Nakulo Sahadevascha Shugosho Mani Pushpakau काश्यश्च परमेश्वास शिखण्डी च महारथ दृष्टदुम्न विराटश्च सत्यकीश्च चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयश्च सर्वसः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहु शङ्कान् दध्नौ पृथक् पृथक्. Yeah, translation and purport, somebody can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I?
Yes, Maharaj.
King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his counsel, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew the Sughosha and Manipushpaka. The great archer king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Drishtadumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the son of Drupadi, Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their separate respective counsels. Sanjay informed King Dhritarashtra. Purport. Sanjay informed
Yes.
kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle, beginning with the grandsire Bhishma, down to the grandson like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world. All were present there and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to the king Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons.
Yes. So Dhritarashtra was not only blind, but he was blind by dharma also. So even though he knew everything, but he could not follow what was dharma. And that was the result that the entire army of the Kauravas is going to be killed, right? Yes, text 19. Sagosho dhratarashtrana mridayani vedarayat nabascha prithvim chaiva tumolo abayanudayan, right? Yes. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Right? So here, when Pandavas blew their conch shells, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. But when Bhishma blew the conch shell, there is no mention that the hearts of the Pandavas were shattered. Yes, somebody can read the purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Purport.
When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the parts of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity.
Yes. So this completes one section where Sanjaya is mentioning or is describing the armies, how Duryodhana is describing Pandava's army, the Kauravas' army, and how Sanjaya described how from text 1 point, that is from text 12 to text 18 or text 19, how the different warriors blew their conch shells and how that indicates the sign of the victory of Pandavas, right? So this was from, so text 1 we saw Dhritarashtra's question, his doubt, his fear about the battle of Kurukshetra. And from text 2, Sanjaya is basically assuring Dhritarashtra that don't worry, they are going to fight the battle of Kurukshetra, and he is giving confidence that how Duryodhana is trying to tactfully and diplomatically speak with Dronacharya, and he is mentioning the armies of Pandavas and Kauravas, and how he is praising Bhishma in text 10, and how in text 11 he is basically asking the support of all the warriors on his side to support Bhishma, right? So he is very diplomatically speaking with Dronacharya, very diplomatically praising Bhishma, and also asking for support of all his warriors so that they could eventually win the battle of Kurukshetra, even though he was fearful seeing the army of the Pandavas. Then we also saw from text 12 to text 19 how Sanjaya is basically mentioning to the Dhritarashtra that even though your son is very diplomat, he is very powerful, and the army of the Kauravas is very powerful, still these are the signs which shows that from Bhishma to Abhimanyu, everybody who is there on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is supposed to be doomed, and who is the cause of all this? The cause of all this is yourself, Dhritarashtra. So this is what Sanjaya mentioned from text 12 to text 19, that different symbols or different signs, the conch shells that were blown were transcendental, Hanumanji's flag on Arjuna, the goddess of fortune, Krishna himself is present, right? Agni Dev's chariot. So all these are signs of victory on the side of the Pandavas, right? So because this is text from text 20 to 27. This further is a different section. So we'll continue it in tomorrow's class. Text 20 to 27 is Arjuna will be observing the armies and he is going to tell what he's observing from text 20 to 27. So that we'll continue in tomorrow's class. If somebody has any questions in this, we can discuss. Otherwise, we'll stop here.
Prabhuji, Krishna is called as Rudranatha also, no, Prabhuji?
Where?
No, Prabhuji. I heard some devotee's name, Prabhuji, where Maharaja, like respective initiated guru, awarded some devotee's name as Rudranatha also, Prabhuji. That's why I asked it, Prabhuji.
So?
No, Rudranatha. Rudranatha means Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of God at Krishna only, no, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Krishna is the king of all the demigods. He is Parameshwara. So, Shiva is Ishvara and Krishna is Parameshwara. So, Krishna is the king of all the demigods. So, he is also the master of Rudra. He is Rudranath. And Shivji worships Krishna. Shivji worships Lord Rama as his master. So, he can be called as Rudranath. Rama also can be called as Rudranath because Shivji himself worships Rama, Lord Rama. So, Lord Ram also can be called as Rudranath because Shivji worships Lord Ram. He tells to Parvati that I always meditate on Lord Ram. So Lord Ram also can be called as Rudranath. Thank you. Any other question? Yes, Boo.
Prabhuji, if conch is the symbol of Vishnu, then Bhishmadev also blew the conch. Can you means clarify it? Why means that auspicious symbol is not working for Kauravas?
Because Krishna is not on their side. Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas. Symbol is there, but the person who symbolizes that is not on the side of the Kauravas. So that we already discussed that. Because Krishna is on their side, Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas. Therefore, even though there are signs also, you can see that there are many signs which can indicate the victory of Kauravas. And even if you see Mahabharata, many times because Bhishma was so strong and it was that Bhishma was almost about to kill Arjuna, and Arjuna was the main fighter of Pandava's side, right? So even though Bhishma was so strong that he could have easily killed Arjuna, and Karna could have also easily killed Arjuna many times, but because Krishna was there and Krishna himself protected Arjuna many times in the battle of Kurukshetra, right? So like when Bhishma was uncontrollable, right? When he had taken the vow that you have taken these 5 arrows, so tomorrow I am going to kill Arjuna. Now Krishna will, to save Arjuna, Krishna himself has to break his vow that I am not going to fight. Krishna had vowed that I am not going to fight. So to protect his own friend, now Krishna, either my vow will be broken or Krishna has to break his vow. So Krishna did not did not care for his vow. People will tell in the future that Krishna is a liar. Krishna did not protect his vow. Krishna is a liar, but Krishna never cared for that to protect Arjuna. So because Krishna was there, the only thing which separated the Pandavas and Kauravas was Krishna. Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Krishna was not on the side of the Kauravas. Therefore, Pandavas were victorious, whereas Kauravas are defeated. There are many signs by which the Kauravas could have been victorious. Bhishma was there, Drona was there, Kripacharya was there, Duryodhana himself was there, Karna was there, right? Ashwathama was there. So all these great warriors were there, and Krishna's army, Krishna's entire Akshavani Sena was there on the side of Kauravas. But why they were not victorious? Because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Therefore, is it okay, Proji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Correct.
Yes. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, by which month this Canto 6 will be get over by approximately?
Oh, chapter 6, this?
Chapter 6.
Now it is end of July. By maybe October end, we'll try to complete this.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Because during marathon time, the classes will not be there. So it is best if we can complete this before that. That is November 15th, marathon will start here in Pune. So after that, most holy classes will not be there. So before that, we need to complete. So I'll try to complete it before that. So you will get time to study and give exams during that time. So maybe in January, your next unit will start. That is chapter 7 to 12, Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So any other question? Otherwise, and yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My question might sound little, inappropriate, but I was just a little curious, Prabhu. Like apart from the Draupadi scene in the 4 Mahabharat, the whole reason why they had Mahabharat was because they were not given a space to stay or a space to rule or land to rule. Is it just one reason apart from the Draupadi scene?
Draupadi scene is there, and also because Krishna is the father of religion, Krishna is what is that on the side? Krishna always wants dharma to win, and you can see that this is one thing which we know. There are many other things where Duryodhana, Duryodhana's praja, that is the praja of Hastinapur, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was Dharmaraj, right? Yudhishthira Maharaj was the son of Dharma, so it was best. One thing is, Yudhishthira Maharaj was supposed to be the king. He was not given the kingdom. Yudhishthira Maharaj was king who followed dharma. Therefore, he was supposed to be the king. And Draupadi was disturbed. And Pandavas asked for the 5 kingdom. Even then, they were not given. And Krishna wanted a dharmic ruler to rule the citizens. So these were some of the reasons why this battle of Kurukshetra was fought and why the Pandavas won the battle. And even the Praja and everyone there wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king, right? But still, because Duryodhana had usurped their kingdom, right, was on the adharmic side, and they did so many things to. This is one thing which you spoke, that Draupadi was disturbed and they were not given kingdom. But even before that, in Bhagavatam itself, Kunti Maharani speaks that how the Pandavas were cheated. One thing is they were planned to kill, right, in the Laksha Graha, right? That was one thing. And second is they were cheatingly defeated and their kingdom was taken. Draupadi was disturbed, right? And what is that? Even though they had fulfilled all the promises that they had been asked in that game of dice, that you have to go for 14 years to Vanavas, and one year will be Agyatavas. They had fulfilled all the promises. So when they came back, they were supposed to be given the entire kingdom, right? So Kauravas did not give that. They told, we cannot give. Finally, what the Pandavas did, theek hai, we don't want to fight the battle. We are sending our messenger Krishna. Just give us 5 kingdom at least, right? 5 place, please give us, because we are Kshatriyas. We cannot do anything. At least give us 5 places. That also they were not ready. So now what Krishna will do if they are not ready for anything? Battle has to be fought, and because they were on the side of dharma, they had to win the battle. So these were the various reasons because of which Kauravas lost and Pandavas won.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Otherwise, anyway, it's time, 1 o'clock. Today is Ekadashi. Please chant more rounds, taking shelter of Krishna, who is father of religion, and we can surrender while chanting the holy name so that Krishna will guide us very nicely in our progress to devotional service. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we'll meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock, 11 to 1. We'll further try to complete this chapter tomorrow, right? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.